Great, we can begin, Madam Chair.
Right, I'll call the meeting to order and begin with the land acknowledgement statement. On Tuesday, February 6th, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. Next item of business is the approval of the agenda. Would someone move that we adopt that agenda? Lorraine, thank you. And a seconder? Jenny, thank you. All in favor? Great. And the adoption of the minutes from the last meeting. Would someone move that we adopt them? Class, thank you. And a seconder? Lorraine, thank you. All in favor of adopting those minutes? Thank you. Disclosure of monetary interest, anyone? We'll go ahead then with our delegation. We have George German here from the Rideau Lakes Municipal Heritage Advisory Committee. And if you want to come up and tell us about your project.
I want to get ahead of everybody else. I'm George German, and I'm the chairman of the Municipal Heritage Advisory Committee of Rideau Lakes. And when we heard you were thinking of having a symposium again, I thought perhaps we could participate if time was available. And so we're going to make a proposal of the theme and what we would cover if we have the opportunity to participate. And we leave it to you to tell us how long, 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever. It depends on your agenda and how it works out. So we're flexible. And now what I have done, and I'll pass this out. Unfortunately, I didn't bring enough copies of this. This is in general what I'm going to talk about right now. I noticed that you have a very effective committee and dealing primarily with, I say primarily, with rural or urban, city type structures, the town, its buildings, and everything else. The theme that we would like to talk about is what kind of things do we look after in the same manner for urban settings. Because in Rideau Lakes, we have 5 towns, no cities, and we have probably another 10 hamlets, all that we look after. Now, for our towns, we do what you do. We've listed them on all of our properties are listed that we have historic of interest. And of course, we have the designated properties, but only 18 of them. And so we treat, in our case, all of the interest in culture and history as almost a business development approach. Tourism. We find there's a great demand for tourism to see the historic buildings and the cemeteries, etc. So a lot of our focus is in that direction, which is a little different than yours. So for each of the towns, we have walking tours. Then we have a driving tour of the whole area. We have a cycling tour, because so many roads are paved now. The cyclists come down from Ottawa, stream through our area down to Kingston. And so we have that type of activity going on. The 2 things that I was really going to talk about at your symposium is 2 things that we're doing maybe perhaps a little different than other rural heritage committees are doing. We all have the standard recognition of our properties, but the 2 things we've started on the last while, one is to have storyboards. And we're making storyboards up that are 4 feet by 8 feet. And there's one for every town. We're going to be one for every town. We've currently done about 4 towns, and we got more to go. because we'll do some of the hamlets as well. And these storyboards all reflect the life the way it was in the 1800s. So a lot of research goes into them to get quality pictures that we can then reproduce and put on a storyboard along with some descriptions of them. But it's turned out to be very, very popular, so that people, when they come in a town, they can see this and see how the town was. The other thing, which we're really hoping you'll accept our offer for this one, is we're now making videos. We have Alison Smith, has won an award from the Ontario Ontario Heritage Society? Yeah. And she got an award from the president for the quality of these videos. And so I was proposing that if time permitted at your symposium, Alison would come and present one of those videos, because she does some for Ottawa. She's on our committee. She's done 4 for us so far, and we'll do more. But it's really impressive, a very impressive thing. So the one she will be doing would be Fettercan, the Fettercan in Chaffee's. We're proposing that as a 15-minute little video. It is superb. It talks about how Fettercan got developed after World War I to handle so-called shell-shocked people. We call them PTSD today. And it's a very impressive thing. So I think it would really draw a lot of attention at your symposium to see this presentation. As I say, she's well recognized right across the province for her skillful nature of making these quality little videos. So she did one, for instance, on the raising Chaffee's locks in Newborough, I should say, having to clear the canal, to how they made the canal through Newborough. Because as you know, they dug and they dug and they dug and it didn't work. So they ended up making dams, raising the water. She has a neat little video that describes the whole thing in terms of how it was then. Anyway, so what we're thinking then is we'd like to make a short presentation at your symposium indicating the differences, perhaps, of a rural heritage society, the kind of things we have to look at that you don't necessarily have to focus on to the degree we do. But more importantly, to talk about the 2 things that we're doing that others might want to do. I always believe in synergy, learn from somebody else. And that's these storyboards, and they're not inexpensive to make, but they're superb because they have to be outdoors. They got to be low enough down that people in wheelchairs can see them, and they got to be weatherproof. They last for years, okay? So it's really an interesting process. So I thought other communities might be interested in that. And certainly I know they would enjoy seeing the little video. So that's my presentation. I could do more and give you all kinds of stuff and tie you up, but in general, that's what we'd be looking for. And we'll give you a greater clarification of exactly what we're going to do if you decide that we could participate in your symposium.
Well, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Sir, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Excellent presentation, sir. Thank you very much.
Well, I kind of ran over it, but
Just a question, the storyboard, will it be the same as the one that's at the Red Brick Schoolhouse in Elgin? Or will
a
it be?
little different than that. That's a good one at the Red Brick Schoolhouse. It talks about the Army people.
Right,
These are a little different than that because they cover, as much as we can, activity of the whole town. In fact, Elgin will get another storyboard, as a matter of fact, to complicate it. It'll be in a different location. Delta gets one. We've already got Newborough and Portland. They're in the process of doing Portland. But
well, I think it'd be a great thing to have her come here.
now, if we talk about if we're at the symposium, we'll definitely have a good picture to be put up, if you have the audiovisual, of an example of a storyboard. They're really impressive. I have to say it. I'm not doing them. one of my committee members
Well,
takes.
I think they're really,
does it.
really neat, those storyboards. I mean, anytime I'm out somewhere in a park or whatever and I see one, I go right over to it and read it.
Well, we've also got the QR codes on them. Is what you call it? With your camera, you can click in on the QR code
QR codes, yeah.
and pull up
Oh, yeah.
the story that goes with it as well.
Really,
All of our boards have that. So,
too high tech for me.
yeah, I'm over 80, so my phone doesn't do it neither.
No, mine doesn't either.
But anyway, I know you would really be impressed with Allison's submission. Now, if you elect to have us participate and you give us the time, hers is a 15-minute video. I will send you the link where you can look at it and say, yeah, I guess that fits into our program. I don't want to dump anything on you that you haven't had a chance to assess and see how it fit in. Because it means also you'd have to have the capability of showing it. Now, I'm going to have it on a stick, that I can give you a stick for it for that purpose.
You're suggesting that Allison would come?
Depending on, she's planning on coming, depending on the date.
Right, all right.
So if I will introduce her, she'll come and present it. Yep.
Lorraine, did you want to?
Yeah, this is, I'm trying to remember, I don't have my notes from I think this will be our 12th symposium coming up. And usually how we do it, we have a committee of people that get together and try to look at what we've done already and find an area in heritage that we think people would like to come. So what you've just described, I think, would work in kind of almost any way at our symposium. So what we might ask is we might ask for one of you, could be yourself or the lady you were telling us about, come and be part of that group, just because then she or you would be, involved in how we move forward. We don't start really looking at it for another month or so.
I'm sure.
Just
No,
that,
no.
yeah. But thank you, and it sounds like it's a great idea, and it's certainly something Smith Falls doesn't have. I mean, we have very similar time periods and buildings, but you really have those little rural areas that are all quite unique.
Yeah, we have a lot of buildings that were built when the people who put the canal through stayed in the area. So they all got stone homes.
No, I think it would fit into almost any kind. We could make it fit
Yeah.
into anything that we
Sure
end
we
up
can.
doing for sure.
Well, yeah, we could work with you and see
Yeah.
how it
No,
fits.
so thanks so much for coming. It was very nice to hear about it, and we look forward to having you as part of our symposium.
Now, I did pass out a piece of paper. It gives you in general some of the concepts that we operate under. But if you need any other data, please get hold of me. I should give you my phone number.
May I? George, sorry. I was just going to say what I can do is once the symposium committee's set, I can actually connect you with the individual members' contact of the
Okay.
people who are appointed to it. So then that way there's a direct contact and I can just be left right out of it.
Now, you had a symposium in Rideau Lakes just before the pandemic.
Yes, that's correct.
It was in
And we're due
Delta.
to have another one.
It was very good. I went to that one, yeah.
And we had one lined up with speakers, and then COVID hit. We
Yes,
canceled it.
yeah.
And we really should have had one this year, but we're doing Doors Open next year, and all the work for Doors Open happens this year. You have
Yes.
to have the pictures taken, everything else done. All the homes selected for it.
Well, there's no reason why we can't team up on this anyway, so that's great. Thank you very much.
All right, well, we can help out, and we appreciate the opportunity to present something. You'll be impressed with that I'll send you the website for that.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the priority issues. The
I'd like to
first,
stay for the insurance, but I haven't got time. We'll form with our committee, we deal with it all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I welcome to see how you handle that one.
Very much a frequently asked question if there is one. So
our first priority issue is the Confederation Bridge design. This is a continuation, in a way, of our meeting 2 weeks ago, where we decided we would not make a formal resolution until today. So first, Carl, I'd like to ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to just give a brief overview for anyone who may be watching our meeting of how we got to this
Certainly, and thank you, Dorothy. So this item was added by request to the MHC agenda last week, further to a council discussion that happened on January 15th. So at the last MHC meeting 2 weeks ago, Director of Public Works Paul McMunn, he kindly agreed to attend the MHC and present a PowerPoint presentation that was presented to council a couple of weeks previously. We have that presentation teed up, and certainly it's Madam Chair, if you would like to either peruse or save that, then I'll take your direction on that. But I'll just provide a little bit of sort of background of what brought us to that point. So as we know, this relates to the removal replacement of the Confederation Bridge, and that code and design requirements, evolving design requirements for bridges, I guess, seem to have sort of precluded a cloning or like-for-like restoration or a like-for-like replacement of the bridge exactly as it is with something exactly as it is in the future. And council had previously given a nod, not a nod, a preference to a design, a truss bridge design that was something similar to what's presented there. I think there was an example in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, a prefabricated bridge. That's the one that sort of goes over a feature that's not entirely dissimilar to what we're working with, smaller scale, of course. So a design contract was awarded to TSI late last year, and a working group was established consisting of our CAO, Director of Public Works, and 3 council representatives, one of whom is this committee's council rep, Chris McGuire. So they looked at a broader array of designs, various examples as an inspiration. And on January 15th, the Director McMunn gave that update to council. They looked at a number of sort of other pedestrian bridges over various rivers and other features. So council had indicated that they were open to looking at a variety of options. They looked at, I guess there's a lot of discussion on one example out in British Columbia over a bridge. I don't recall what river it's over. Bridge of Dreams over a river in Princeton, BC. And I think there was some interest around the council table for a Confederation Bridge that's a bit of a landmark. I think wow factor was a word that was used at council. Following, so there was discussion. Certainly the committee, and I don't mean to speak for the committee, but there's some concerns around the table, certainly about ensuring that whatever bridge design is selected is one that's heritage sympathetic and sort of accommodates what's important to the community. So following that MHC meeting, Mr. McMunn, Dorothy, and myself met. We looked at bringing TSI to the Municipal Heritage Committee in August. At the end of the day, neither myself nor Mary are bridge experts, and Paul certainly relies on the design experts as well to help with that. So whatever decision on the bridge, and it hasn't been made yet, but whatever that decision will be council's, and council, and to assist that, whatever design moves forward and is selected by council. And they haven't looked at the price tags yet. They don't know what all of these different options are going to cost. So they don't, at this point, there's a number of designs, but they haven't selected one that they're going to be moving forward. But whatever that is, Director McMunn will be looking for feedback from this committee on how to best commemorate the existing bridge. Does that include salvaging of certain materials? Does that include panels? Does that include something else? So I think I'll turn this over to Lorraine. There's a motion moving forward for the committee's decision. I think certainly the question before the committee is the committee ready to make that resolution, ready to provide direction on that, or fundamentally do we need to revisit or provide council with direction on, or the committee's position on what you'd like to see as a whole? So I think that's just a broad summary of what brings us here, and I'll turn it over to Lorraine to present a motion for the committee's consideration to convey to council.
This is a rather long motion, but I think it's well worded and it sort of expresses exactly how we feel. And then I'm hoping that we'll have a vote on it. So I'm going to be moving this motion forward. Whereas the town has engaged heritage consultants to conduct an area study for the purpose of designating a downtown heritage conservation district, the boundaries of which have not yet been determined, but could include the area where the original bridge is situated. Whereas the Municipal Heritage Committee is concerned with the preservation of the integrity of the cultural heritage landscape, which includes a direct view to 2 designated properties immediately downriver, the former water treatment plant, 25 Old, and the UNESCO World Heritage Site immediately upriver, the Stone Arch Bridge, and adjacent park spaces. Whereas the outcome for the water treatment plant, 25 Old Mill Road, a designated heritage property, could be affected by the replacement bridge design. Whereas the original bridge was positioned close to the flowing river, a crossing which was integrated with the surrounding landscape, not raised up above it, which was a determinative factor in how the community experienced the bridge and the river. And whereas a pedestrian-only bridge provides an opportunity to replicate that experience. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Smiths Falls Municipal Heritage Committee hereby recommends that Council of the Town of Smiths Falls selects a design for the replacement of the Confederation Bridge that commemorates the heritage landscape that surrounds it, connects it to the water, and is in keeping with the scale, shape, and materials of the original bridge and informed by its surroundings. With reference to the examples presented by TSI Inc., the bowstring truss bridge design in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, referenced in the January 15th, 2024 presentation to Council, exemplifies this concept better than any of the others that they presented. And that the Municipal Heritage Committee hereby requests the opportunity to meet with the design consultant and provide input on the design of the new bridge. Moved by myself, Lorraine Allen.
Thank you, Lorraine. And can we have a seconder for that motion?
I
Class,
will
seconds? Thank you. Now we can open it up for discussion from the committee.
So,
You want to go first, Class?
yes. I'll be straightforward. The only one of all those pictures that I saw that designed the light is that one.
That
The
one.
rest of them was just way out to lunch.
That's what we thought too.
I'm glad we all think the same way. Is Council, Carl, the only, like it says, we'll have some input on the design? Or is it just Council?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Through you, Madam Chair, the property, this is not a designated property, so it's not like the water treatment plant or something where there's a statutory role for the Municipal Heritage Committee as far as that goes. So ultimately, the decision-making role is council, subject to whatever other approvals they may need to get from parks or whoever. But I think what without putting words into the resolution, the sense I get is that the intent of this resolution is for the Heritage Committee to put up their hand and say, this is our opinion, we'd like to convey what we'd like to, or I guess the committee would like to sort of provide your feedback to council on what their decision ultimately should be. But at the end of the day, the decision is council's on how that bridge is going to, what that outcome is going to be. That decision will be based, of course, on costs and a variety of other things.
Sure, understand. Thank you. I just have one more question. If
Go
I may.
ahead.
Thank you. So that particular design right there, is that a walking bridge or is that a traffic bridge?
Walking. They're all walking
They're
bridges.
all walking bridges. So the idea of a traffic bridge is off the table.
Has been.
Okay.
That decision has been made by council.
Decisions made by council. Yeah. Okay, I just bring myself up to speed. Okay.
Jenny, sorry.
Okay,
Yes.
that's okay. This one has been really interesting for me. It's been a bit of a struggle the past few weeks because I have a lot of opinions about the aesthetics as like personal opinions as a resident, but I was really conflicted about our role as a committee because it's not designated. And I've just been trying to reconcile that. But what I like about this motion is that it reminded me of things that I hadn't considered. The importance of that bridge and its connection. And I really appreciate it. I think it's very thoughtful and very well thought out. And yeah, I'm happy to support it.
Thank you. Lorraine?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because for me, I grew up on Market Street, and all of us that in town of Smith Falls, all children played on that Confederation Bridge and around it, or in the park, or in the wading pool, or in the swimming area. I mean, that was where everybody spent most of their time. That bridge then was a vehicle, plus we could walk across it, but it was an interesting bridge. But the beauty of it was the structure allowed you to almost feel the water. Like if a boat went by and it was a windy day, you'd get water on your face. You'd be somehow connected to that whole area in a way that you can't be without a bridge. And the bridge that was liked most by council, last bridge, the wooden one we saw earlier, it's quite high and it's very modern. And in my view, it doesn't fit in with that area, which has always been made up of designated properties. It just doesn't somehow match. It's not that it's not an incredibly designed bridge to be somewhere. I just don't think it's Confederation Park where we want it to be.
Okay, any more comments, discussion? No? Well, we're ready to vote then, I guess. So all in favor of this resolution? Unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. And Carl, you will take our resolution forward to council.
Yes, the clerk has advised that the appropriate vehicle for the resolution to come to council is a priority report by the staff liaison, who's myself, and I will take that to council and present that on the floor. At the end of the day, it will be presented as a Municipal Heritage Committee recommendation, not a staff recommendation, but that's the way it would be administered.
And will that be this coming Monday?
I will aim for this coming Monday. It's a very heavy agenda on the Monday, so I can't 100% promise, but that's what we're aiming for.
That would be February
February 12th.
12th. Are we allowed to attend that council meeting?
Yes.
It's
You
a
are
public,
allowed to
it's an open and
attend
public
anyone.
meeting.
I
We
will
can
be
keep you
there.
in the loop when we get the agenda out. I'll flip it to the entire committee so that
Thank
the
you.
committee knows which agenda it's on.
It would be a good idea if we could attend.
It would be
Yeah.
nice if
Wouldn't
we
it?
came
Because-
together.
yeah.
Yes, we all go there in support.
Yes.
Thank you.
Back Carl up in case they decide to throw something at us.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. The next priority issue is the essay contest that we've launched, History of Your Favorite Smith Falls Property. I guess we had to postpone it a week, didn't we? So
We did have to
we're not
postpone it.
announcing the winner in Heritage Week, but it's going to be shortly afterwards.
It's going to be shortly after. So a couple of things. There is, and this is why I actually wrote notes in the agenda. So one thing is the Smith Falls Journal has reached out and has asked us if they can actually publicize the winning essay. I know, right?
We have a nice article in this week's
Yeah,
about
they
the
did.
contest as well.
Can I
Oh,
ask
yes. Oh,
a
yes.
question though? I'm right in thinking that they were to be describing a heritage property, right?
That's right.
Because it just,
Well, not a heritage property,
No.
the history of their favorite Smith Falls
so it
property.
could be a modern one that was built 10 years ago. Is that right?
Well, yes, as long as it's the history of it. So the point of the essay contest is to help us broaden our existing heritage research and help make connections and find new resources to broaden our heritage knowledge for the town. So we're really hoping that this essay contest helps open the door to more resources and more knowledge for heritage in our community. So we're not necessarily focusing on the properties that we've already been researching on and that we've already designated, because we're trying to broaden our knowledge outside of that area. It is supposed to be on the history, heritage, the architecture of the building, and it'll help us as a committee but also maybe muster up some interest in our committee now that we have some youth positions open. But yes, so a couple of things I want to mention though, Dorothy, was that we did have to push it back a week. So unfortunately, the council presentation for Heritage Week would basically it's not possible just because of the timing of it. Presentations of awards typically happen at council meetings, not committee of the whole meeting. So the earliest I could get us in was March 4th. That being said, if we can determine the winner early enough in the week during Heritage Week, we might be able to get it in the journal just in time. So there's that. But yes, basically the journal has asked for exclusivity. We would still have as the town the ability to post to our website on our webpage. But in terms of publications and reaching out to newspapers to publicize, they've asked that they do it exclusively, but they've asked for it. So I believe if the committee's interested, I can confirm, but I believe that means that it would be free to us to publicize that in the paper because they've asked for this exclusivity. Or I would assume at a reduced cost. So that's the benefit of that. I am working my best to try to get the announcement as close to Heritage Week as possible. We can still do an announcement maybe, or a media release very early in that week so that it's timing with Heritage Week. But generally speaking, the presentations and some of the things will trickle in afterwards, which is unfortunate, but we did have that inclement weather in January that kind of pushed us this way, unfortunately.
Well, no matter the date, it will still, I hope, achieve our goal of raising awareness of heritage among the youth. Carl?
Yeah, and I think just to build on what Mary's saying, I think what's exciting to me the most about this is that there's the possibility that some of the entries, they may focus a little bit less on sort of the architectural details, but more on some of the other heritage criteria, the associative value. This property is important to me because of this is what it's associated with. It gets people thinking about heritage in a broader, in that broader sense. And I think it could be a really good learning opportunity for us, in addition to building sort of the corporate and community-wide knowledge and appreciation for individual properties. I'm really interested in seeing how our youth sort of envision the properties and what's important to them for a variety of reasons. And it could be reasons that are very personal to them. So it should be, I'm delighted to see this and certainly keen to see what you guys have in mind for future Heritage Weeks.
How many entries do we have?
At this time, we don't have any. I can tell you that we have to remember that the publication went out roughly 4 weeks before deadline. So ideally people are working on this. In terms of where this is being advertised, I've reached out to the library who's doing it in their new location. I also gave them permission to share on their social media or their website. I did the same thing with SFDCI, and I reached out to the principal asking him to please share it with history and English teachers. So there was that. I've also reached out to the Heritage House Museum, who's helping with publications. I've developed 3 social media posts that will be posted to our own Facebook page. It is on, and our Instagram. It is on our municipal website. We have flyers in the lobby, and I am attempting to, if you have any ideas of community boards that I can post these, please let me know. I can also print copies if you have a specific location that you would like to put it up yourself. So the word is getting out there. There seems to be more activity than I honestly expected on social media with respect to the sharing of the posts and making sure that the message is getting out that this is contest. And honestly, for 500 words, it's a relatively minor essay, so I'm hoping that we get a few, even though we still have 10 days till deadline.
Okay, thank you very much for everything you've done on that project.
Judging.
Yes.
That is one thing that I'll need the committee to decide how they want to do that before we proceed.
Us?
I would suggest, since we're kind of small, the committee, all 4 of us be the judges.
Yeah. We did talk about that a little bit before you arrived, that maybe we would judge within the committee. Yeah.
There you go, Mary.
I'm okay with that. we will need to keep in mind that it'll work the same as a working group where we can't advance any other committee business. We're just there reviewing essays, but as long as everybody's of that same understanding, I'm happy to have the whole committee participate.
I mean, we're small, so. I mean,
Yes. And so what was the deadline, entry deadline again?
February 16th.
Okay.
And I can let you know at the end of the day that day the amount of submissions I have if you'd like.
Okay, thank you. So the other priority issue was the Heritage Symposium planning. So we've already heard from George German with his suggestion for our symposium, and I see we have another one here.
Madam Chair,
do
can
you
I
want-
just
yes,
make a
please.
suggestion? Like we normally, in all of our symposiums, we haven't had people piecemealing ideas out to us.
No, we haven't.
That's not the way we do it. We get a broad, like a really important broad theme, and then like what he was saying, I think could fit almost anything, but the insurance maybe, but I don't think we want to have a whole lot of things that people are suggesting without having the theme
No,
of
there
what
needs
this
to be
year's
no,
going to be.
yeah, very good
So,
point. Thank
I
you.
mean, I think what we should do very soon is have a committee made.
Yes.
Yes, sorry, I just want to mention the reason why I actually added this is that Karen, George is actually the second person to have ever approached me with an idea for the Heritage Symposium. Karen was the first in September 2022. I didn't bring it last year because of the theme of this. Because of the Heritage Conservation District study going on this year and the discussion at this committee table about the amount of community messaging that we really need to try to get into informing the community so that we have a bit of a smoother process in terms of heritage. The insurance aspect is often a concern of the community. So I want to bring it to the committee's attention about this suggestion that was brought forward about a year and a half ago, just simply because this might be the year that it is a desired information piece to this community, right? Yeah, just based on the timing, the study we're expecting to be done by the end of the year, and the symposium usually happens in the fall, so it might be good timing to help spread that message of how to get past some of those hurdles that the community may or may not experience if there's an HCD put in place.
Okay. Well, thank you. We'll take that under advisement then, and very soon, well, should we form the committee now, or do we want to? I mean, really, it's just us.
I think it's pretty simple.
Maybe we should just all do it.
Yeah. Like Lorraine said the last time, we need
Yeah.
more helpers.
Well,
We should
just to add to what Mary said, I mean, we have done bits and pieces of conservation districts. Well, even when we had our speakers 12 years ago, that was always kind of part of it, but it hasn't moved forward at a great pace. So perhaps this symposium would be where we just say, okay, let's get people who have very successful districts come and speak and show some wisdom and wise decision making, and just give us some advice, because we are moving forward. The council has said that's going to happen, so I'm assuming it's soon, and they've made that decision. So maybe our theme should be, moving conservation districts in a positive way, or some such thing, And then that would allow what you just said to happen as well, part of it, the insurance. I think people are afraid in my neighborhood, the designation sometimes, like I'm in the Porch Vest area, old houses. I think sometimes people think they're going to get overly burdened with insurance because it's an older building. And they have this misconception that if it's identified building, it'll be worse. And that's wrong. Because normally identified buildings are in great condition because people have taken such good care of them. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions around all of that can be part of that. And I think if we're going to stay as a committee doing something annually, I think we should keep to around the same time every year. It's less confusing because people have asked about, when is it? And we can then easily say, well, it's always in. So
October, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll be here this year. I can go to the symposium.
You could be the chair.
Okay, so do we want to get together to discuss that specific thing as a symposium working group? Do we want to do that? Do we want to wait another month or?
Learn the sooner the better.
Sure.
So I think the sooner the better.
Jenny, you're the one that's got a commitment to a lot of, certain times you have to be places. What works best for you if you were going to help with it? Like an evening
An evening is usually okay.
and like later evening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anytime after 4 most days.
Okay. So why don't we like look at maybe 5 as
Sure.
a start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next item is the project updates, the Municipal Heritage web page. I guess you're on again, Mary.
Talking a lot tonight, guys. This is just to say that it was officially launched on January 26th. I'm still struggling, unfortunately, to get the symposium recordings up, but thankfully the manager of economic development is working on that. So we did find a workaround. We're going to try uploading the videos to YouTube and then linking them on our webpage. It's just taking a little bit more time than I would like. But yes, you can now officially reach all things municipal heritage for this group, as well as what we're doing with policy at www.smithsfalls.ca/municipal heritage. So as we get going with the Heritage Conservation District, you'll also be able to find any project information from that page. So as there's updates, I will keep the committee in the loop.
Thank you. Okay, next item is roundtable. If anyone has any information that we haven't covered. Jenny? No? Class?
Just in regards to what Mary just said, I think one of the things that would be really helpful now when we're looking at, making our downtown part of the conservation district in a positive way, there are some of our stores that have made beautiful heritage fronts. And so we've talked about this many times, how the, backlit signs and the glossy glass and all of that is not what we would call a really good historic sign. So maybe it's time for us as a group to take some pictures of examples of it, and then ask our council to give the same kind of acknowledgement of money for both, and maybe even more so if it's got sort of more of a heritage feel to it. There should be some motivator to get the stores wanting to do it that way, because the glassy ones, they when Jennifer was what was that role? I forget, economic development. They were given some money to make that sign. And so there's a lot of them. And they're not a heritage designated looking sign. So I think there's still a lot of properties that are looking to do signage. So it might be nice to have, some kind of bonus if you do it in this particular way, or at least even a sample of what they look like. Like Smith's Shoes is lovely, and the Tap House, both those buildings are really, you look at them and think, oh wow, they look great. They're a nice historic looking sign. Yeah.
Sorry. So I was just going to let you know, I actually kept a guideline that you had provided me a few years ago about heritage signage out in, I think it was like Saskatchewan or Manitoba, that you really liked. You had given it back to 2020, so I can circulate that to the group. I also just, I also run the town's community improvement plan, right? Which you're a little familiar with, and we have a new one. There is facade funding that is available, 50% up to $10,000 for facade improvements, but it does include signage. One thing I wanted to mention is that there's a new piece to that facade program that wasn't there previously when you were on council as well, was that we actually offer up to 85%, maximum $17,250 for buildings that are designated under Part 4 within the downtown core. So there is actually that component under the CIP that we offer more money for rehabilitating heritage facades.
And is there an understanding that they have to have a heritage looking signage in front?
For the heritage building.
Yeah. Well, to
Yes.
get this grant.
So the new CIP is more stringent on the types of facade details that we will fund. So we don't support painting brick, for example. We're more supportive of things like cladding, rehabilitation, repairing, architectural details. So it's very prescriptive under the new CIP, what is supported under the facade program versus what is not. So that was the way that we mitigated
It would
that.
be really useful for our community, I think, if we research some other communities that are doing it well. And then just give samples, because people have asked me, like, what do you mean? Because we don't have an awful lot of them. And it would be nice to have samples of what you could do with your building, make it look more historic.
I think people are looking for ideas.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
want some kind of guideline or.
Yeah.
Instead of shooting in the dark.
And I can circulate, like I said, the example that Lorraine provided me a few years ago that she really liked. And actually that's on my work plan this year, is developing a sign guideline, so I can try to put a heritage component in it and give that to the committee to take a look at it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Good. Anything else for roundtable?
I have one more thing because I'd like to talk tonight. I'm sorry, guys. I just want to let the committee know that the heritage highlights have been sent to communications and have been scheduled. So we will have one post on a heritage property, non-designated but listed, every day throughout the week of Heritage Week, and that'll be posted to our social media.
Who's picking them?
We picked them. We reviewed them in December.
Did?
Yes, we did. We chose,
I don't remember.
we chose from the most recent list of properties of interest
Okay.
that were put forward to council. So I think did we include the Armory? Is that one?
Included the Armory, so that was
And,
21 Market Street North. We had 11 Market Street South and 30 Chambers together.
Yes.
23 to 25 Beckwith Street North. We had 4 to 16 Main Street East.
Right.
2 Russell Street East.
Oh, good.
I can't remember them all. I think I'm a couple short.
So that's the place that's now the vault, the old CIBC building. That row of 3, the Coombs block, and then, yeah. So they're not designated, but they're on the properties of interest list. So to raise awareness,
Yeah.
again, connecting it all with the Heritage Conservation District,
Yeah.
because they would all be within it.
Yeah, for sure.
And at some point, Mary, we can do some more, but not yet, right?
Oh, yes, at some point we can do some more. We'll wait until the message
Yes.
kind of gets out there about the current ones, and then we can switch them out for new ones.
Okay. That concludes, no, it doesn't, go
Just
ahead.
in the building, the Justice Building, did it include it in that?
We have not done that one, you haven't researched that one yet. No,
And what about the Clark and Lewis?
yes, that one is,
It's designated.
no, no, it isn't.
Well, it's
It's a property of interest, but it's been on the list for a long time.
Yeah.
So yes, we had, yeah. But the Justice Building, we've not investigated yet as far as its history is concerned.
It's a neat old building.
Yeah,
It is,
yeah.
It has a lot of history.
yes.
Okay, so that concludes our meeting. Next meeting is no, it's not. The next meeting is March the 5th.
Did I still have February?
Yeah,
I did.
March the 5th. Will someone move that we adjourn? Class, thank you. Meeting adjourned.
I will give that to my dear man as soon as I go through the door.
Yeah, he'll know what it's for. I think I've bugged him enough times.
Well,
I know what it's like.
it's that time of year. He's getting
Yeah.
pretty busy already.
Oh, tax time, yes, right.
Yes. That's what I was doing last week, was getting all the T4s out.
Oh, right.
Well, I hope
I wish we get